In some panels, we had some themes as, for example, old guard versus new place. And our panelists also highlighted the need for change in the existing new world order. Why do we need such a change? And how to actually catalyze such a change? And if Turkey has any suggestions against this unfair world order. First of all, I would like to salute all attendees and participants from Turkey and from abroad. And I would like to thank them for coming here for such a meaningful event. Welcome. The theme is quite sensitive, quite fragile, important. Just as Roman Diogenes said, just like looking for something under sunlight and not being able to find it, we are just looking for justice in the world right now. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist currently, especially those who are in power economically are somehow announced to be the right parties. It's not that the right is actually powerful. It's the powerful who are right, or who are considered to be the right. We've just watched it on the screen right now, and I don't want to live in a world like that, shown on the screen. Living in such a world is actually such a sad thing right now. Innocent people, victims, are just under bombs. This is the world we're seeing right now, and living in a world like that is actually such a sad thing for us. What will you do by living in such a world? Once you speak it out, speak it up, once you share it with the powers that be, nobody really comes out and says that you're right, we need to do something. Right now, Turkey, as you all know, is hosting 3.5 million people who fled Syria. We've spent more than $30 billion right now as Turkey. And is there anybody out there who supported this spending? No. 800 million euros was what was extended out of 3 billion euros pledged by the EU. It was supposed to be paid by the end of 2016, and it wasn't, unfortunately, paid. And at the same time, the amount granted by UNHCR is less than that. And unfortunately, we've spent $30 billion, more than $30 billion. When we speak it up, the answer we get is as follows. They say, Turkey is admirable in its work and aid, they say. Well, that's okay, but what's your support? What's your share in this? They say it in our bilateral meetings, but when it comes to international meetups, they don't really voice it. And what's even more interesting is that, well, as you know, I have an argument from the very beginning. The world is bigger than 5, I've been saying. We cannot consider the world with the conditions that can be traced back to Second World War. But the world is not now seeing the conditions of Second World War anymore. So don't we need such a change? Yes, we do. 5 permanent members and the entire world looking into the mouth of these five powers. Whatever they say, then it happens. So this is misleading us. There are 15 temporary members, and for these temporary memberships, countries are just contending for it. Well, nothing will really come out of a temporary membership. We've been a temporary member. What really happened? Do we really have a say in there? No. It's only that you are a temporary member of the United Nations Security Council. That's it. What really counts is 5 permanent members. That's it. Just as you said previously, this has to change. 196 countries have to really voice that. They have to come out and say that 5 permanent members and the rights they have, we want to have the rights they have as well. Will it be 20 countries? It can be. Well, we can just have a rotational system, for example, so that each and every country can have its turn, so that each and every country can have a voice in the fate of the world. This is the order that we need to have. This is the shift that we need to have if we are going to establish a just world order. And I would like to add on your comments as follows. The world is bigger than 5, you said. You've said it at the rostrum of the United Nations institution. However, those who speak out the truth are just exiled, as we say in Turkish. After you said that, there have been some reactions. However, those who support you are increasing in number, right? Well, they do actually increase whenever we have bilateral meetings.
Fakat o güçlerin karşısına geldikleri zaman kalkıp da
when they are before these 5 nations, they can't really say that the world is bigger than 5 because they have some ties. Currently, right next to us, we have developments in Iraq, in Syria. You know the developments there. And with these developments, we have a border of 910,000 kilometers. And which country should have a say in that? Turkey should have a say in that. So you have, of course, some warm relations with them, but there are some threats. Terror group, PKK, and it has offshoots, PYD, YPG. PYD and YPG are now positioned against Daesh with the support of America. So a terror group being rehabilitated or neutralized by another terror group. Does it really make sense? I said it to Mr. Trump, and I'm just saying it quite honestly. Well, let's just do it together, I say. Let's eradicate Daesh together, I say. We've just prepared divisions, army units, I say. Let's do it together, I say. But they say, no, we're going to do it with PYD, YPG. Like 3,500 trucks, armed carriers are unfortunately inside northern Syria right now. I've just said it. 3,500 trucks. These weapons, these arms, where will they be deployed? There are 5 air bases and 8 other bases, military bases. Other than that, these are extended to a terror group, and of course Daesh is taking advantage of that. Let's say that they don't take advantage of that, but these things, won't they be a threat for me in the future, tomorrow? Nobody can say that it won't be a threat. Mr. Bush, when they invaded Iraq, the same thing happened. They said we were taking the serial numbers of these weapons and we will just collect them back, they used to say. Everything was over. After all the events were over, America's and Russia's weapons just remained in Barzani's and PKK's hands. We found them. And this is what they're saying right now. We're taking their serial numbers. We have registered numbers, they say. Therefore, after the operations against Daesh are over, we will take them back, they say. But I just said it to them. You can't take them back, I said. These will just turn out to be in the hands of some other people. Well, unfortunately, this is the trend, and this is a worrying trend. This is a concerning trend, especially the developments in Idlib. Well, Afrin, it's another issue. PYD is there. Can we just stay silent against PYD? Whatever PKK is for us, PYD and YPG are the same for us. And we will just keep our resolve for counterterrorism. Your Excellency, now that we've come to that point, I would like to talk about hypocrisy. I would like to talk about dubious standards. Well, it looks like the media tends to separate bad terrorists from good terrorists. For example, when PKK conducts a terrorist attack in Turkey, it is somehow quite difficult and rare to hear media or international community saying or criticizing the attack. But whenever there is a terrorist attack in Europe, we see leaders gathering out in the streets. Well, this is what Turkey has been witnessing frequently. In Somalia, unfortunately, there was a severe terrorist attack, and unfortunately, a Somalian leader was scheduled to come here and honor us, and unfortunately, he hasn't been able to make it. How can we really fight with these dubious standards? Well, because how can really leaders come and say that as much as Madrid is important, Istanbul is important, Somalia is important, as much as Europe is important? How is it possible? Well, why don't we really diagnose the situation first? Without diagnosis, you can't treat anything, right? Well, this is quite a good question. This is quite an important point. This solidarity is not something new. I'm just going to give names. There's no point in hiding names. TRT World is now broadcasting this particular event to the entire world, and everyone has to know some facts. I've handed over 4,500 documents to Germany about PKK, and we haven't received any response about these 4,500 documents. All these terrorists are just roaming freely in Germany and in Europe. Well, in the records of the EU, PKK is accepted, recognized as a terror group, right? If it's a terror group, here are our documents issued by our intelligence agency. Why don't you act on them? No, they don't. Secondly, FETÖ terror group. This is the same case with them as well. And it's not only there. Well, recently, you know what happened in France. They held a rally. The leader of this terror group, their posters, people just walked with the posters in hand. And they did it with the supervision of the French police. The same thing happened in Germany with the supervision of the German police. They basically just announced my death penalty. And do you know when it happened? It was during the time of G20 in Hamburg. And there was this badge in Berlin with a Mercedes. it was me, it was Mr. Putin, and it was the King of Saudi Arabia. And who kills them will take Mercedes. It was the badge that read. When I said it to Miss Merkel just looked around. Well, she just acted like she didn't know it. But this was the fact. Let's be honest. Let's be sincere. This happened in front of the Prime Minister's building, and you didn't have any idea of that? How come? And the same thing happened in France. Well, the public French TV, for example, the building of this French television had this poster, and the French policemen were just watching the poster. Is it really possible? How come? These are the realities, these are the facts, and these facts should be known, and necessary actions should be taken. I go to America as an invitee. I have meetings there. And after the meetings, after the talks, we are on our way to our residence. And there, on the way, we just realized that PKK supporters, FETÖ supporters, having protests. And we also have our fans, our supporters, who there are fighting against the other protesters. And a citizen, a Turkish citizen, unfortunately, is injured there because somebody hits him. And two patriots, two supporters, and two PKK supporters are arrested, and these PKK supporters are now released. But unfortunately, our patriots are still in jail. No matter what we said, nothing happened. 13 guards, 2 were my spouse's guards. For these guards, there was an order, an arrest warrant, unfortunately. And among these guards were people who've never seen the United States of America. How come, really? What kind of a thing is that? What kind of a justice is that? I actually oppose that kind of justice. If it's going to happen this way, it's really not possible to come to a better point. That's why I'm just saying that the world is bigger than 5. This has to be addressed. Sooner or later, if we stand strong, if we stand courageously and bold, we know that the justice will be served. I have no doubt of it. Actually, just at this point, I would like to ask a particular question. I would like to elaborate on values a little bit. The values as the West sees it, democracy, or what they see as democracy, freedom, or what they see as freedom. And these values being imposed on emerging countries in the way that they understand these values. This was the general opinion in our panels, and this had to be ended, according to our panelists. How can emerging countries actually resist against that? And at the same time, Turkey is on the path to be a global power, a regional power, and Turkey is also impacting its region. How can Turkey, without imposing its own values, do this? Well, first of all, about the values, I would like to say a thing. Well, this is not a good trend. This is just going to lead us to somewhere that's not really good. With this kind of approach, with this kind of understanding, democracy will be unfortunately put to test and questions. Because democracy does not really respond to what people think of it. This may be also called as the failing of democracy. This is also a discussion item in America, in universities. Are we coming to the very end of democracy, people are asking and debating on? If votes really pay the real purpose, why don't you respect it?
az önce söyledik.
Well, as I just said, well, this actually takes us to somewhere where the powerful are right, not necessarily where the right are powerful. This is the vicious circle that we're in now.
Emperyalizmin
At the same time,
acımasız o vukuatları karşısında
in the face of imperialistic and merciless acts, what will we do as democratic people? In Turkey, for example, my party wins the elections
açık ara benim partim seçim kazandığı
with
halde
a big difference.
kalkıp da Batı
With this
benim partimi
in hand,
yargılıyorsa
despite
ben bu
this,
kapıdan
the West is criticizing me, questioning me. And if with this in hand, I would, of course, doubt
gecesi
the West's attitude. I'm asking this. The 15th of July,
bulunuldu.
2016, in this country, was there a coup attempt? Yes.
Bize karşı.
Against whom? Against
Peki biz
us.
bu ülkede
And
otoriter, totaliter
in this
bir rejim mi
country,
kurduk? Yok.
do we have an authoritarian or totalitarian regime? No. We just
Ve 15 yıldır da
have the power
ülkemizi
with the
yönetiyoruz.
votes of the people. And we've been ruling this country for the last 15 years.
Maddi olarak gücünü katladık.
And we've also
Altyapısıyla,
grew
üsyapısıyla değişen
more
bir
than
Türkiye var.
3.5 times. We have a stronger democracy, and there was a coup attempt. And despite this coup attempt,
Demokratız diye geçinen ülkelerden
countries who claim to be Democrats
sonra aramaya başladı.
started to call us only
Darbe
after a
netice
week.
getirmedi.
They just realized that the coup
Arayarak
didn't
dostlar
really
alışverişte
take
görsün
place,
kabiliğinden
wasn't
bize
really realized.
geçmiş olsun.
That's why they started to call us a week later
Olabilir mi?
to wish us speedy recovery.
Bakın
How
çok
come?
açık konuşuyorum.
I'm being quite open here and
99'da
honest here.
Amerika'ya giden FETÖ denilen adam
This guy, who is called Fetullah Gulen, who went to America in 1999, and in Pennsylvania, he has a land of 4,000 square meters. And from there, he is basically just ruling more than 100 countries. This man is only a symbolic figure. There are other people who rule.
süflörler arkada.
Well, he is just a prop. He's just a prop, and behind the scenes, there are other people who whisper cues into his ear.
Ve götürüyorlar.
But this is how they do it,
Olaylar olurken
how they've been doing it.
eğer ben
Despite all
stratejik
these
ortağıma
developments,
85 koliyi veriyorum da
I hand over 85 boxes
bize herhangi bir destek
to my
gelmiyorsa,
strategic partner, and I can't see any support back from my strategic
demokrasiye
partner.
inanmış bir insan olarak
As a person who believes in democracy,
demokratik
what
bir
will I
hukuk
do?
devletinin gereği neyse onun gereğini
We
yapacağız.
will do what's necessary, what's needed of a democratic
Yani adeta bir
country.
emir kulu gibi görüp
We can't be their slaves.
birisi var içeride. Onu
Well,
bize
there
verin.
is someone who is inside there. Please release him, directing that.
Önce
If
sen
you want him free,
kendindekini bize ver.
then give
Bizimki
the persons
yargıdan geçmiş
who are
ve
in your
hakkında tutukluluk var.
borders.
Seninki yargıdan geçmemiş. ya.
Well, this person has not been even prosecuted. He's just in the farm. Why don't you
Ona göre biz ne kadar
give
stratejik
him
ortağız,
us?
bunu
We are
görünce
strategic
olur.
partners. Let's just see
Maalesef
what this strategic
bu
partnership
şekilde
entails.
işte başkalarına da
Unfortunately,
yaptıkları gibi
just
Türkiye'ye
as
de biz
they
böyle
do
yaparsak
to the other
buradan nasıl
partners,
netice alırız bunu
they are just trying to see what kind of a result they will obtain from this kind of attitude. This visa issue, this is the clearest example. What do they see
hemen
there?
bir paragraf.
One
Vizeleri
paragraph.
kaldırdık.
We have suspended visa procedures. Who says that?
Ankara'da büyükelçi.
The ambassador to Ankara. Who is that ambassador?
Koskoca Amerika Birleşik Devletleri adına stratejik
On-
ortağıyla ilişkide hemen
With regards to the relations with the strategic partners, he just issues one paragraph to suspend visa procedures. If he has the right to say that on behalf of a huge America, of course I will question this strategic partnership. And then we retaliated. Immediately, we have also suspended visa procedures. Why? It was because justice required that.
Bakalım nereye
Well,
varacak?
we've had bilateral meetings in Ankara. We'll see where it's going to lead us.
Önem arz ediyor.
Well, these stances really mean
sadece
something
ülkem
for
için
us.
konuşmuyorum.
But I'm not really
dünyaya sesleniyorum.
talking it for the sake of my
Diyorum ki,
country. I'm
eğer
actually calling out to the
demokrasiye
entire world. If we have
Eğer
democracy,
adaleti arıyorsak,
if we are
buna da
all
inanıyorsak,
seeking justice, if
gelin
we're
hep beraber
all
el ele
believing
verelim, omuz
in
omuza verelim.
justice,
Dünya beşten
let's
büyüktür
come
diyelim
and
ve
work hand in hand. Let's
196
just say
ülke
out loud that the world
dünyada
is
bu
bigger than
hakkını
5, and let's make sure that 196 countries ask their right.